interesting, authentic, original, curious, innovative, a pioneer. Just some of the many ways Mike Leach is being remembered this afternoon. We're back with Rod and Greg. And Greg, listen, we've talked about the man, the teacher, the person. He also had a lasting impact on the game of college football. What do you think his legacy is?
Well, I know his legacy will live on through those in his coaching tree. And if you haven't taken 5 minutes today, take 5 minutes, just look up all the incredible coaches that have coached under him. We all know the offensive guys, but you might be surprised when looking at how many great defensive minds also coached under Mike Leach, like Ruffin McNeil, Dave Aranda, Ken Wilson, a lot of great defensive coaches on that side as well. But what I think is fascinating, look, I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The offense of the day when I was growing up, and still continues to be, is Mike Leach's air raid system. We took the field at South Lake Carroll with 4 wide receivers and lined up in shotgun 100% of the time. We learned that from Mike Leach, and we learned that by going to their camp and doing things within the air raid system forever. And that became the offense that everybody in the state of Texas ran. And then it's now matriculated far beyond that of the Lone Star State as well. So I think what's fascinating, it's easy to talk about his legacy at the college level and even to a certain extent at the NFL level with how some of his concepts have navigated north. But the amount of people that learned football at the high school level and the amount of fans that we have of football that learned football through the prism of the air raid offense, I think is phenomenal. It's countless. Basically, everybody that played offense in high school at some point in Texas in the last 20 years learned some parts of Mike Leach's system, so we can all credit our love and knowledge of football in some ways to Mike Leach, Hal Mumme, and the entire air raid family, Rod.
Greg, that's absolutely right. I mean, that air raid system permeates football at every single level. You know, you think about Cliff Kingsbury and Dana Holgerson and where they took the air raid. Mike Leach used to say to me he was kicking them out of the air raid club because he morphed it into having more running plays into the air raid system, and he wanted everything to be pure. So that system is everywhere. The spread system, 4 receivers, 5 receivers, whether you're talking about the NFL or college games or different types of spread systems, he was really at the forefront of all that with Hal Mumme. I think the other thing that his legacy will be is, you know, he's a Renaissance guy. He was a Renaissance man and showed that you don't have to be a football coach with tunnel vision, and you don't have to be a football coach who played the game. He took a different path. He was so curious and such an expert at diving into things that he made himself just unique to the game. And I think the other thing that people will miss about him is that he made college football fun. You know, the wide open game and the ease with which he talked to the media and to players and recruits, all of that made a big, big difference. And I think his legacy will be for as much as he was off the field, as much as his air raid system was on the field.
Well, you're right, Rod. Myopic is one word we have not used today, and I doubt you'll hear anyone use, because he was quite the contrary, interested in so many things, but still had time to accomplish all of this. 158 and 107 in 21 seasons as an FBS coach. 19 of those 21 teams went to a bowl game, the most wins in Texas Tech history, and named a Coach of the Year twice in his fantastic career. But Greg, I'll ask you any final thoughts this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm so glad that he's being celebrated the way he deserves to be. I think more than anything else, like take a few minutes today and just think, obviously, and send your prayers for his family, those he's survived by, but continuing to know that there are more than one ways to skin a cat. There are more pathways to victory than some people might imagine. And I think that if you can continue to apply that logic for Mike Leach, I mean, I think it's very applicable in all walks of life. So love Coach Leach. We'll miss him greatly, and I'm certainly thinking about his family.
You know, Greg, I'm going to miss the random phone calls I would get from him when he would be recruiting in the Bay Area, and he'd call and say, I just left a home. This is what I had for dinner. Anyway, what an amazing man. What an amazing life he had. In college football, us will miss him dearly.
There's no question. And I tell you all, today has been a privilege. It was a privilege to work alongside Mike Leach, a privilege to remember him. We think of his family, but also say thank you for sharing him with us.